So this morning I just woke up with an epiphany. I didn't wake up with the epiphany because I didn't download the epiphany from a dream. I just woke up and I suddenly thought of this: almonds. Let me just explain. I'm currently taking patisserie classes, pastries, baking classes in an Indonesian school. And at the Indonesian school, when they teach you how to do the galette de roi, not de roi, basically they don't include a fève. You know, the little fève, what do you call it? The little trinket, the charm that supposedly whoever gets the charm gets to be the king or queen for the day. Well, we don't do that, and so, which is totally understandable because it's difficult to find a proper fève in Indonesia, because I believe they're usually made of ceramic or whatever. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they're not easy to come by in Jakarta, Indonesia, let alone any other part of Indonesia. And B, we don't practice the tradition of eating the cake ceremoniously as they do in France. Okay, so knowing this, for the longest time, I was actually quite in denial about how much I actually wanted my first experience cooking a galette de roi, oh god, I keep getting it wrong, de roi, not de roi, okay? For the longest time, I was quite in denial about how much I actually needed my first experience making one to incorporate the little fève. And I actually convinced myself it's a terrible idea because what if well, it's okay, I don't want my elderly Indonesian family members to choke on French charms anyway, because, you know, the little trinket, well, I don't think you could actually choke on them because they're not that small, but still I tried to convince myself that it wasn't that big of a deal and I could live with, you know, my first experience making a galette de roi without the fève. But then I just woke up this morning and I just suddenly got this idea. What if, literally, I woke up in the morning, I was like, hello, world, and I just had this image of almonds and replacing the fève with an almond. So I woke up this morning with that idea, and mind you, today is the 8th of February, and tomorrow we're in pastries class. We're going to cook we're going to bake the galette de roi. See, I've already kind of prepped the design I'm going to do tomorrow. And this morning I have just been plotting. All morning I have just been plotting and plotting. How am I going to smuggle in my almonds tomorrow in case they don't let me, which I doubt they wouldn't let me if they don't let me replace the fève with an almond. Why wouldn't they let me do that? That would be pretty crazy. And mind you, I had those almonds not because I like to snack on almonds, but because during the exam for the basic level, I purchased a load of kind of garnishy things, not garnishy things. Well, yeah, they're kind of garnishy things. So these are flowers. No, not these. Sorry. Okay, so I purchased these dried coconut flakes for garnish, which I've never seen anybody do, and they let me do that. So these are more flakes, and I also use these pumpkin and sunflower seeds for garnish, which I've never seen anybody do, and they let me do that. So I highly doubt they wouldn't let me replace the fève with an actual almond. And the point of me using an edible fake, I knew deep down in the back of my head that if my first ever experience baking a galette de roi did not include the fève, I would have a deep gaping hole in my soul and in my heart, and I would regret it for the rest of my life. And I have had bad experiences with regrets in education before, because before that, my biggest regret in life is not doing my master's thesis on cyber warfare. Okay, so I did another topic on international humanitarian law for my master's thesis, and, you know, I kind of feel bad saying this because obviously anything to do with war is important, but, you know, my ego, my more selfish side, felt that if I did my master's thesis in cyber warfare, you know, in cyber law and cyber warfare, under the umbrella of international human rights and humanitarian law, that I could be a pioneer in, you know, because that's how it works in academia. You want to be a pioneer in everything, and I've got a big ego, and I need to work on my ego, but whatever. So, you know, knowing that I have been through that experience and I still regret not doing my thesis on cyber law, I do not want to experience any more regrets when it comes to any form of education, even if it's a pastries class. I need this to be the way that feels right for me. I know I'm being super petty right now, but yeah, because the thought of baking such an French pastry. Okay, I will finally shut up about my master's thesis regrets, but all I can tell you now is it's crazy because no matter how many times I talk about my regrets about not taking the right academic path, no matter how many times I talk about it, it never feels better. Okay, so I am determined to actually do my own thing and actually, you know, bring my own fève. So now initially I thought that was going to be, oh Mia, stop being extra. Initially I thought, oh, that's just being super extra, but, you know, whatever I need to do to get peace of mind. And so this morning I woke up with an idea to replace the fève with an almond. Okay, and I don't know how I'm going to smuggle this into class tomorrow if it turns out they're not going to let me. I mean, really? I can't imagine them not letting me use an almond. My only issue is I'm not sure if, to be honest, I'm not exactly sure if I can actually get away with sneaking in the almond without consulting the chef, because I legit feel like I need to ask the chef whether the almond, this is a roasted almond. Technically it's a roasted almond, so it can withstand heat. But a roasted almond is a dry almond. And a wet almond, technically, I don't know. My cooking logic isn't that great. My cooking logic is actually really terrible. Sometimes I get the ingredient switch and I think, oh well, let me just put some powdered milk, and it turns out to be flour because I thought that the milk was powdered when I was meant to insert liquid milk into the clear dough. So I'm not sure, but so far my logic says that it should be fine, and I can't actually get away with sneaking in this video. I might actually make this video public, but I'm going to make it public last minute. Maybe about a couple of hours before class starts, because I don't want anybody to see this video. So there's that. So I'm just going to do my thing because I don't want to have any regrets, because let me just tell you, no matter how many times I talk about my regrets about not doing cyber warfare for my public international law, international humanitarian law master's thesis, no matter how many times I talk about it, no matter how many times I write about it in my journal, I don't feel better, okay? And I do not want to have that same gaping hole in my soul and in my heart over a fève. Yeah. So there's that. Wish me luck. So I'm just going to give in to my pesky, intrusive, persistent thoughts of, because I just do not want to have any regrets. So tomorrow I am going to actually replace the fève with this almond. I just can't bear the thought of my first ever experience, and probably the only time in my life, baking this very French pastry in such an un-French manner. And so I'm just going to do my own thing and bring my own edible fève here. And I don't care who calls me old school or traditional, like that's a bad thing. And it's not really that traditional, because basically the whole idea of an edible fève is that it's actually safer for non-French people, and by that, well, not necessarily non-French people, but people who are less familiar with French culture, like my family. Like I said, I was genuinely concerned that one of my elderly family members might actually choke on the little fève, the little charming trinket. Yeah, well, anyway, so it's, you know, I'm pretty sure it's not that hard to feel the texture when you actually bite into a cake or kind of fork into it. I don't actually think it's likely to choke on a fève. So I have just been scheming all morning, trying to kind of design and plan how I'm going to tell the chef, because, well, I'm actually tempted not to tell my teachers and just sneak it in, but then I want to know if it, I don't know how I'm going to go about this, but I am going to do this. I am going to do this, okay? If I'm going to be the black sheep of my class, I might as well just own the title and, I don't know, be an enfant terrible or whatever you call that, just genuinely terrible anyway. I just don't care. I'm just going to do this for myself, because what's the point of me taking this class if I'm not going to be happy in it, right? So, behold, the galette de miaw-miaws. And the way that this is different from a traditional galette de rois is that a traditional galette de rois, it incorporates a proper French charm, whereas galette de miaw-miaws incorporates a snuck-in edible thingy that you bite into, and whoever bites the almond gets to be a cat for a day. So that's the difference between a traditional galette de rois and my improvised galette de miaw-miaws. Okay, so there's that, and you can purchase a galette de miaw-miaws at my bakery, at my own little patisserie called Patisserie Joli-Led, although my very French boyfriend thinks that it is a terrible name for a pastry. But I'm going to call that anyway, because the whole idea is that's where we sell where we sell ugly cakes made by beautiful people, okay? Because I'd like to think that I'm not terrible looking, but I make very, very ugly cakes. So yeah, and yeah, because trust me, my cakes are for most part pretty ugly, and I'm going to make this one a little catty at least. I hope it doesn't come out ugly. But yeah, the last time I made a raspberry roll cake, it actually ended up looking like a crime scene. So yeah, so okay, so I have just basically been scheming all morning, and so wish me luck. I hope everything goes well, because I have to do this. I have to do this the way I see fit, because I don't want to have any more academic regrets. And it's terrible to have academic regrets, because education isn't cheap. Okay, education isn't cheap. And, you know, just because I seemingly attend a nice pastry school doesn't mean that I'm necessarily good at pastries. It just means that I can afford the tuition. Okay, so I hope that's my little epiphany story for this morning. So yeah, so this is the galette de miaw-miaws, and you can buy these at the Joli-Led, even though my very French boyfriend thinks that's a terrible idea. Speaking of very French boyfriend, hello, very French boyfriend, I know you're watching. He's in our time zone. He's in our time zone. He's not actually in Europe right now. He's in our time zone. So hi. Yeah, he's not in Indonesia, but he is around our time zone. So hello. Hey. Yeah.